I guess by nature I'm interested in new ideas and trying things differently. Unquestionably, being here in America rather than, let's say, in Paris, France, or Cremona, Italy, there was a sense of freedom that was twofold. One of the contributions, I think, of America to violin making has been sharing information. The evolution of violin sound made some steps in America, in New York, but people talk about the New York sound, you know, the sort of sound that Isaac Stern wanted from his fiddle, and that René Morel taught a generation of makers how to get, you know, tighter posts, lighter bridges. It was partly a matter of just getting more sound and more focused sound and addressing the needs of projection, really. This is actually a rather crude prototype. It's got a number of things going on. One is that the neck can be adjusted with a little screw. In the final version that would be inset, so it's not sticking out. So the player can adjust the height of the strings for comfort. It's got a simplified head here. Bridges tend to warp, the strings dig into the top of the bridge. Well, this bridge has got laminations in the center, so it won't warp, and it's got a little inset in the top, so it's very resistant to the strings, so problem solved. Why would it be an advantage to have a lighter weight structure, and how can you get it materials that'll achieve that? And then once I could routinely get as light as a good old Italian, well, what happens if you go lighter still? I think if you look at most high performance tools, race cars or sailboats, or you name it, it's always a thrust towards getting rid of mass that isn't helpful structurally. So if you want a powerful violin that's fast responding, it's helpful to reduce the vibrating mass. If you go to a recording engineer and you play some sounds, well, you've got a lot of energy here, not so much here. Why don't we tweak it a little here? You ask a musician, describe this passage. You can use poetic language, or you can simply describe the notes, the harmonies. I mean, there are objective ways of talking about things that are meaningful, and they just haven't been applied to violin timbre. They've been applied to all sorts of other things about the violin, and that's an area of interest to me. Why don't we have ear training, timbral ear training for players? So how do you measure a violin? I mean, from a sound point of view, one way is you give it to a player and ask them how does it sound, and they will play it for you and they will say things about it. The difficulty is that good players make almost anything sound good. So if we want to get some sort of objective sense of it, it's useful to have some equipment. Inside the head of the hammer there's a sensor that detects force, so it knows how hard it's hitting. I mean, it knows exactly what's happening, and that excites all the resonances of the violin that can be excited by force that way. And then the microphone picks up the sound, and then I can take it from different angles because the sound radiates directionally. At first I was quite hostile to science in violin making because it seemed like this kind of coldness of analysis. It's like the old debate they used to have, did Newton destroy the rainbow by explaining it? You ask anyone who's researching things, and the more interesting it gets, the more you know, and that's certainly the way it is with science. I don't see any conflict between art and science. A good role model for us is someone like Leonardo da Vinci, who's, science, art, they're both ways of learning about the world. And